One game tying, not even game winning drive, and all has changed in the landscape of the QB1 race. So says many of my friends in the media and those rooting for Spencer Rattler. But why? Why was this week different than last? It wasn't. We're going to get into that, the 17-17 tie with the Jacksonville Jaguars and the state of the offensive line and plenty more in Derry's Dimes. And, of course, it's Mano E Monday, which means y'all get to say whatever's on your mind. Love, hate, indifferent, whatever it is, you get to say it. It also means Gabe will be here. He didn't watch a second of the game, but he's got an opinion anyway, as do lots of us. In other words, it's a jam-packed Dattitude podcast. And you know what else it means? It means it starts right now.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.
Where you at, Dattitude family? 17-17. Woohoo! Preseason. Woohoo! Celebrate good times. Come on. We'll be celebrating all morning and into the early afternoon on Dattitude, episode number 404, presented by Evangeline Securities for a Monday, August 18th, 2025. 404. Do you know what 404 means? You nerds out there, you geeks like me, you know what 404 means. If we don't make it all the way through the show, or we can't be found after the show, you will understand. For us in the business, if you've ever done anything with web hosting or putting stuff up on the web, you will know that 404 means it cannot be found. Sometimes you click on a page, you click on a link, and it says 404, page can't be found. If we can't be found later, we did not drive this show into the Bermuda Triangle. It was not crashed by the unbelievable, fantastic performance by Spencer Rattler yesterday. No, it's because this is episode number 404. All right, that's enough of that nerd business here. For those here for the first time, I am your nerd of the day. I am your host, Jim Derry, 35 years on the New Orleans sports media scene. I thank you for being a new member of the Dattitude family. Of course, the regular Dat family, they're all here. I can see the comments starting to post up. I have not looked at any of them yet. We will get to that in a minute, because you know what is special about this show today and every day? You can be a part of today's episode, again, and every episode, by typing in your comments, especially on Monday, when it's Mano E Monday, which means it's just me, it's Gabe later on, it's me, it's you. We show comments, I respond to them, you respond back, and we have a tete-a-tete. Sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't. It's probably more fun when we don't. But anyway, that's today and every day. We are live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11 a.m. Central Time. If you like the thought of this, if you like what you heard so far, you just got here, you haven't subscribed to the Dattitude YouTube page, please do so. We would love to have you as part of the Dat family. Easy to be found. Dattitude. That's attitude with a D in front of it. If you're watching after the fact or listening to any of the major podcast platforms, you can find us, and you can get in touch with me after the fact on X at Jim Derry Jr., or as many of you do. These are always fun, via the comment stream on YouTube or via email at jderry@theadvocate.com. All right, what is on the show today? Well, you know what's on the show today. It's the day after a game. It was a 17-17 tie. I kind of had to redo the graphic. I was working on the graphic in the Dome yesterday there with my colleagues, and I had to change it up a little bit. I just said, 0-1-1. It's so much better than 0-2, right, in the preseason? Yeah, what do you notice about these numbers, by the way? Shough, Rattler, they're almost identical to last week's, right? We're going to get into that. Mason Tipton had a great game, 6 catches for 100 yards, and the team was a little bit better rushing the football this week than last week. They actually ran it 21 times for 87 yards. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, a little bit. Sort of breaking news for those of you who went to bed early last night. The Saints made a trade, and oddly enough, it happens every now and then. The Saints made a trade with the team that was on the other side of the field. Did they get on? I want to know, did Luke Fortner actually get on the Jags flight and find out when he got off the flight that he was traded and he had to fly right back to New Orleans? I don't know. Colin Saunders to the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Saints had too many defensive linemen, especially interior linemen. They sent one of the Jags. They got something they needed in return, and that's a backup center, and Luke Fortner. How do you judge a trade? I guess at least early on, first of all, you don't judge a trade until after you see what happens, and you judge it after the fact, right? But if you're gonna judge it early, I'm gonna judge it off of how are fans reacting. And I could tell you right now, Jaguars fans are like thrilled to be getting rid of Luke Fortner, so that's never good. Before we get to some comments here this morning, Luke Fortner is 27 years old. He's played at the University of Kentucky in the SEC. Okay. 3rd round pick in the 2022 draft. All right. He started 17 games, all 17 games, his first 2 seasons in the NFL, 100% of snaps both years, which means obviously he stayed healthy. But the bad news is in his 3rd season, he played just 13 snaps. It had nothing to do with injury. He was healthy all year. So he lost a job. He was on the team. And he played yesterday. I did not notice him. I wasn't trying to notice him. I did not have time to go back and watch the game. I have not done that yet. I will probably do that either tonight or tomorrow. But, he lost his job. So what does that mean? It means he's going to do the same thing in New Orleans that he was doing in Jacksonville, backing up the starting center. So he's going to be a backup. Saints obviously lost Will Clapp for the season. He's going to take Will Clapp's place. And honestly, he's pretty much that kind of player. Might actually be a slight step up from Will Clapp. His PFF grades, not great. In fact, one segment of his PFF grade is awful, but his overall PFF grade is 52.5, which is average. He's an average center in the league, which is good for a backup. But his pass block grade was 28.5, which is absolutely terrible. He'll be backing up Eric McCoy. You hope he doesn't really see the field, because if he sees the field, it means Eric McCoy's hurt. And it is what it is. All right, we're going to get to some comments here this morning. Before we get to Derry's Dimes, I have my thoughts. In case you're new to the show, you don't know what that is. Every Monday after a game, I give you my usually 4. Why I call them dimes? Because it just alliteration. Okay, it's cute. Derry's Dime. I mean, you want me to do Derry's quarters? Next, I'll start Derry's quarters next week, if you prefer, because it's really 4 pieces, 4 little bullet points that I kind of expand on. We're also going to hear parts of press conference from Coach Kellen Moore, Tyler Shough, and Spencer Rattler. That's all coming up. And we need to hear these press conferences, especially from the 2 quarterbacks, because the media, I'm telling you, they can say whatever they want. Okay, they're rooting for Spencer Rattler. Okay, a lot of them are rooting for Spencer. The things they even said, that some of my colleagues, I'm not going to mention any names. There were members of the media tweeting out that I think Spencer Rattler's taking the lead in this race. Why? Why would you think that? It was basically the same game in reverse. Their numbers for I meant to make a slide for this. Their numbers are almost identical when you talk about where they are for the season. I'm going to get into that again. I didn't have time to make a slide for that, but I meant to. We're going to get in that in dimes. All right, first some comments this morning. I can't wait to read them. Again, I'm reading these completely blind. Call me Ron Burgundy. Jimmy Burgundy's here. That means that I have not read these comments, and I'm probably going to click on them without reading them first, which could be a bad thing. And Gabe says I'm completely on my own this morning. Gary, good morning. Exciting end, fighting for their jobs. It was an exciting end. I will say this. The end of that game was, I enjoyed it. I will say that, is this bad? I was kind of rooting. Now, I wish that, who's the kid that intercepted the ball at the end? I'm blanking. Its name's Sanker. I wish he would have stepped out of bounds a little bit earlier so we could have seen a field goal. Maybe he did step out in time. I don't know. I did not see the end and they didn't really show it in the dome. Hook it up with the clock. It would have been a big deal for a regular season game. But I was kind of rooting to see if the Jags would get in a position where they could try to kick like a 75-yard field goal to win the game after Cam Little's 70-yarder last week. That's what I was kind of rooting for. And it ended up being pretty exciting. So, Charles Manga says, good morning. The Rat looked good. I assume that's what he means. And Tyler was all right, but our O-line sucks. O-line was not good. Chad Gage, he loves Mano E Monday. So who doesn't? Rob Fan Guy's here. Good morning, everyone. Who's ready for another edition of Overreaction Monday? That's what we're here for. Gabe says he's ready. He's excited about it. Sandra Mariande, good morning. It's preseason. Must play everyone. Forget the score in the game. How can you forget that score? Man, come on. 17-17? It's a tie. I don't care if it's preseason or not. No game should end in a tie. Have a field goal kickoff. Have a who can throw the ball the furthest. Have a pancake block off. I don't care what it is. Nothing should end in a tie. Hate ties. That's why soccer sucks, Gabe. Gabe should not end in ties. Ever. Chad Gage. Against that fourth-string team, baby. Don't discount the Rat. Guess what? Shough did the same thing last week. Shough looked a little better as a starter this week than Rat last week. I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to be objective here. I don't know if that's the case. I got to be honest. So far, I mean, just by a smidge, and I mean by a complete. So again, we're going to get into this in the dime. By a smidgy of smidge. Shough's been a little bit better. He passes the eye test, maybe just a little bit better. But throw him in a hat and pull one out of a bucket. But that's not what's happening here. Y'all keep thinking this is a race. It's not a race. Again, that's coming up. UPN says he heard the game was so bad, people were fighting to get out. Did y'all see that clip? I actually, that's another clip I meant to show. If you haven't seen it, go look for it on social media. Type in Saints Jaguars fight. It was really why they should stop serving beer maybe at like halftime of NFL games. If you ever wanted to make a cause, they should stop serving beer at halftime of a game. You could use this clip. It was hilarious and sad all at the same time. Some dude lost his pants. Saints fan got his ass whooped, by the way. That's a whole different story. Anyway, Michael Morgan, good morning, brother. He agrees with my take that there is no quarterback battler and that Shough is the starter. You're getting ahead of me. Although it's not something new. Didn't just start saying it. Charles Schulman, how's it going? Good game in the end. It was fun. I don't say that often about preseason, but that fourth quarter was fun. Spencer Rattler made it fun. 100%. No question. Made it fun. Phil Mariandi, good morning. It's preseason. Stop the overreaction to two halves of football. Well, it's all we have to react to. But you're right. It is overreacting. Gage and Nut, good morning. Hope everyone is having a great Monday. Apathy says, good morning. Dat Family's here. No noticeable overall team improvement from preseason game 1 to 2. Again, jumping the gun. This is actually one of my dimes. Ruiz is still a turnstile specialist who has always been a wasted draft pick. We're going to need lots of alcohol. Good news is you can find it in New Orleans. You don't even have to go to the liquor store. You can just go to Tom Save ain't there no more. So you can just go to the whatever your station of choice and you can find whatever you want. Gala Stretchings. You love this. Well, we love you. Thank you. What group is my brother in? You mean my brother-in-law? Oh, we've talked about this before. I'm not name dropping this morning. My brother-in-law is way more famous than I am. He is the lead singer for a very well-known band. And he talks like this. You can figure it out if you haven't figured it out already. All right, Earl's picks. So the Rat looked better this week, but I still see more potential in a higher ceiling with Shough. All right, that leads me to this. We're about to get to the dimes. We got plenty more comments. Don't worry. All the comments, we're going to get to them all. If you're new, just type in your comment. We will get to you, I promise. But before we get to those comments, before we get to Derry Dons, before we get to Gabe Henderson, everything, I got to tell you about my friends at Evangeline Securities. Of course, They are a company that can help you decide if it's the right time to sell your family-run or privately held business. And just as importantly, they can figure out what that business is worth. There is no preseason for them. It's always 12 months of the regular season. They always know who their starting quarterback is. They don't have a QB1 race. Who are we talking about? We're talking about Nick Braden and Ron Hemelt, founding and managing partners of Evangeline Securities. They will start by scheduling a complimentary valuation from their offices either on Poydras Street or in Lafayette. And from there, you'll be well informed to begin to make the decision on if you want to proceed. That's right. If you want to proceed and make the decision about the rest of your life. What happens after that? Well, you'll have to wait until later in the show. In the meantime, you can check them out at www.evangelinesecurities.com. Again, okay, we're going to get to more comments in just a minute, but I want to get to the dime. Okay? The dime. You know, Derry's dime. Starts off like this. Many of you said this already. I thought that this preseason game looked a lot like the one we already saw last week. I thought that the quarterbacks were okay, not great, not terrible. They were okay. I thought that maybe the running game was a tinge better. Kendra Miller, 6 carries for 21 yards. Velus Jones, is he trying to make a case for this team? He could do a lot of things. He could be a running back. He could be a receiver. He could play on special teams, 4 carries for 29 yards. Also played as a receiver. I thought the defense was just okay. And we're going to get to the O-line because it's a part of this dime. It's definitely something to have a concern about. So pretty much what the Saints did in a 27-13 loss, they did in a 17-17 tie against a team that's just, frankly, not as good as the one they played the week before. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, and again, this score is skewed. You got to remember, first drive of the game, Trevor Lawrence drives right down the field and then does what Trevor Lawrence does, and he fumbled the ball away. So instead of it being 7-0 or at least 3-0, it was 0-0. Tyler Shough took the ball, tried to drive down the field. Oh, no, wait. He tripped on his own feet. The turf monster got him. Punt. Jags go right down the field, score a touchdown. 7-0. Shough responds. It's a field goal. Again, Saints stall. So all in all, it looked like pretty much the same game we saw last week. Spencer Rattler comes in, has I thought, a really good game. I wouldn't go as far to call it great because that pick that he threw was just awful. It was a horrendous pass. Okay, so I can't call it a great game, but overall, I thought he played pretty well, and his numbers bear it out, 18-24 for 199 yards. Now, again, a lot of those yards, and I don't know exactly how many of those completions were on that final drive to get the touchdown, but he gets the touchdown, and he gets the 2-point conversion. I thought he handled that drive. You know why he handled that drive so well? Again, something we're going to get to in just a minute. But what I've been wanting to see from Spencer Rattler from the get-go, and when he does this, which is not enough, Spencer Rattler, not enough, doesn't just let himself go. And he let himself go in that last drive. He didn't think. Don't think, Meek, just throw. That's what he did. And I thought he showed that he has some kind of promise. The problem is he can't do that on a regular basis. At the 2 games, the quarterback numbers are almost identical. So anyone who says one is played better than the other in preseason, I don't give a rat's ass about practice, by the way. Don't tell me without practice, you got to include practice. I mean, I went on the Saints Insider show after the game yesterday afternoon, and Zach, you and I were talking about it, and he's like, I think he thinks it like I do. I think he thinks it's pretty much been even so far. But he says, when you factor in, I don't factor in, I don't give a damn about it's practice. Okay. They don't do anything. They wear red jerseys for a reason. No one could touch them. Pass rush doesn't matter. Practice means nothing. So after 2 games, here are their quarterback numbers thus far. Again, I meant to make a slide for this, but I ran out of time. So they've each had 10 drives. Okay. How many scoring drives have they had? They've each had 3 scoring drives. Their completion percentage, Spencer Rattler, 71.4%. Tyler Shough, 70.6%. That's as dead even as it gets. Passing yards, Spencer Rattler, 252. Shough, 231. Pretty damn close. Passing touchdowns, 1 each. Interceptions, 1 each. Rattler has also had a fumble. They're identical. They're no different. That leads me to item dime number 3. And I said this yesterday, and I'll say it today, and I've said it multiple times before. If the tie goes to the runner is Tyler Shough. It makes zero sense. I mean, think about this logically as we've gone through this over and over again. If it's a tie, it would be a shock. And here you go, making it. I'm not trying to write a poem here. If it's a tie, it would be a shock if Shough didn't win. Why would Kellen Moore not go with his own guy, not see what this team has with the guy they drafted with the 40th pick over Spencer Rattler? Does Spencer Rattler give you more of an upside than Tyler Shough? I don't think we even could possibly know the answer to that. I mean, in theory, the answer is that Rattler can do more with his legs than Shough can, but do we really know that? We haven't seen Shough try to run. It's preseason. Will we see him try to run later? I don't know. When are they going to have the final answer for this question? Here's the thing about when you're talking about this race. You know me. I always like to read through the lines of what they do in a game and what the coaches say. Could we tell anything from what Kellen Moore said? Let's hear a piece of his presser yesterday. 48 seconds from Saints head coach Kellen Moore.
Yeah, I think that was a big moment and opportunity for him to have that great drive going down the field. You throw an interception and have to respond, and he responded really, really well. Put the team in excellent position, did a great job with situational football in that 2-minute drive. His ability to play with his feet, came up in a number of situations, and I just thought our guys did a really good job in that 2 minutes just handling and understanding what the situation was. We're just going to keep building through this process, and we think we got 3 really good ones here, and we'll continue to build.
Do you think that decision could come this week before the last preseason game, or do you think it's going to?
We'll see. Obviously, I got first sight here, but film will be an important aspect of this thing, and we'll just see, how everything progresses leading into this week. Sooner always is better, but these guys are competing, and they're giving us everything that we can ask, and so we'll continue to evaluate.
First thing you can do is you can take the beginning of that first half of that press conference, or the first half of the clip we showed, and you could have just taken last week's press conference on Tyler Shough and put it right in there. Obviously, he was talking about Spencer Rattler there, but he said almost exactly the same thing last week about Tyler Shough. Oh, he bounced back from the interception, right? So read through the lines. What did he say there at the end? He was asked, and we've been talking about this for quite a bit now. Will he make the decision this week? Why is it more important? Why is it important for the Saints team to make the decision on who the QB1 will be this week? Because unlike last year when there was a fight for QB2 between Spencer Rattler and Jake Haener, which wasn't really much of a fight. I mean, Rattler was clearly better than Jake Haener, and he still is. Unlike that, we're talking about who's going to start the season. And essentially, in the grand scheme of things, they're both rookies. Of course, Spencer Rattler was here last year, got on the field, played in 7 games, started 6 of them. But in the grand scheme of things, in my mind, he's still sort of a rookie, right? So Tyler Shough, obviously, he's only been with his team. He's only had, not even a month now of training camp into preseason. The answer is they have to know sooner rather than later, because whoever the number 1 quarterback is has to get his mind mentally prepared. The team has to get him mentally prepared. The coaches have to get him mentally prepared, and the team has to know who their quarterback's going to be. I think it's going to be this week. We're going to find out as early as maybe Tuesday or Wednesday who this starting quarterback is. That's my prediction. It's been my prediction for about a month now. I'm sticking with it, and I think that's going to happen. But again, if the tie goes to the runner, it's got to be Tyler Shough. What does anyone see? Again, if my theory is correct, okay, and that Spencer Rattler had to be much better, okay, and I don't mean just like, some people think Spencer Rattler's a little better. Some people think Tyler Shough's a little better. Some people think it's dead even, okay? That's where we are right now. So if that's the case, why in the world would Kellen Moore go with the guy that was drafted by the last coach who everyone hated in the 5th round as opposed to his own guy in the 40th round, 40th pick of the draft? early in the second round. There's only one reason. And then he doesn't want to face that early stretch and put his quarterback in and go 0-4 with the Tyler Shough. But I just don't think in the end, I think it's going to be, he's going to start with his guy. We're going to see both of them at some point that start games. I mean, I think there's almost no doubt in my mind that both of these quarterbacks start a significant amount of games. 3, 4. I think that is the bottom number that you're going to see for one of these guys is going to start like 12 or 13 games probably. The other one's going to start like 4 or 5. I think it's going to be Tyler Shough who starts the 12 or 13, and Spencer Rattler starts 4 or 5. But I think Rattler's going to start somewhere in the middle of the season if things are going wrong. Things are going to go wrong some sort of way. I'm going to come back to the quarterback thing. Obviously, plenty of comments in the stream. Going to get to them, but I want to finish the dime with this. We could talk about QB1 all we want, and I think RB2 is settled, by the way. We never got into that. We will. Kendra Miller, I think, is clearly the RB2 in this team. I do want to talk about RB2 this morning at some point. But, you know, you see the title there at the bottom. Why was this week different? You know what wasn't different? The offensive line, and somebody brought it up earlier. Cesar Ruiz, I thought, played not well. Okay, and that's put it nicely. But 3 of your 5 starters and 4 of your 5 starters, if you count Dylan Radins, was in there because Trevor Penning's not going to be ready to start the season. And I thought the offensive line, that starting offensive line, and I'm not going to say, you know, Shough had his issues because the offensive line stunk, but Shough had his issues. And I thought the offensive line was just awful. How many times did he get sacked? Do we have that on? Let me see if I have that here on the. Okay, Shough was sacked twice for 17 yards, and it could have been worse. I just thought there were holes in that offensive line, especially on the right side, and it is super concerning. I thought that both of the tackles didn't play. They didn't play as well as I thought they played in the first game. Is it something to be concerned about? It's preseason, so I'm not going to be over concerned, but I am concerned about Cesar Ruiz. That is a concern. Look, these guys got to stay healthy, and they got to be good. And so here we are, 2 weeks into preseason now. We are 3 weeks away from the start of the regular season. It is something to worry about for sure. The offensive line plays like they played yesterday and really plays like they played last week. I don't know that it matters who QB1 is. That's my dime. Look, we're going to get back to the quarterbacks more. And I appreciate, all the comments we have in the stream. Again, we're going to get to those. But again, before we get back to the QB1 race, I would think everyone would agree. We might not agree on who the QB1 should be or who it will be. And I think it's great. Mason Tipton played a really fantastic game as a receiver, and I think he's almost cemented his spot on this team. Dante Pettis, who caught that touchdown pass at the end, great. 4 catches, 57 yards and a touchdown. But this team can't move the ball right now, and it's not just because of the quarterback. They scored 2 touchdowns in 2 preseason games. Is that good? No, it's not good. It's bad. Partly because the offensive line has sucked. They got to figure that out, and they got to figure it out in a hurry. All right, let's get back to some more of the comments here. Again, we're going to get back to quarterbacks and more, and I'm going way back because I don't want to miss anybody here. I'm going to skip over some of them, especially here early, because I want to get everybody in. Cecil Evans. Good morning. Doesn't matter who is named starting quarterback. The offensive line will get them on IR by week 4. And I had not read that. Yep. Anyway. Ray Bauer. That game was strange. It was indeed. Seth the Hook. Good morning. The young defenders are rocking it. I do think they played well, actually. I think you're right. Good morning, S. Callie. Black Preacher Man is here. Dat Family. Salute. Mano V. Rattler. Who dat? Not really sure what that means, but okay. Big Valley's here. Good morning. He's changed his mind. It's something about Rattler that gives this team some juice. Still think they will make Shough the QB1 to start. It was 3s against 4s. I just can't get fired up about what again, it was fun at the time because that game, it's preseason, it's boring. I'm thankful that Spencer Rattler made the game fun at the end because it, frankly, up until that point, it was pretty lame. But what about some of the other passes that were thrown? Are we forgetting about those? Why were they in that position, by the way? Why did they get in the red zone? You think about his red zone opportunities. Again, getting into the red zone, kicking field goals, throwing a really bad interception. You can't forgive all of it because he goes on a 2-minute drive. I mean, it's great. Love to see it. He let himself go. He played. I thought that drive, I'll go as far to say I thought he was fantastic on that drive. He didn't think. Don't think, meet, just throw. Good morning, Douglas Thornton. Good morning, Rock. Rocky Oob is here. Felt like, you type it in lowercase today. Okay. David +1#. If Colin Saunders was going to get cut, it's a way to get a backup player without having to deal the waiver wire on cut day. I don't know if Saunders was going to get cut or not. Maybe he was. But there was definitely a plethora there, a plethora of mediocrity. And in the grand scheme of things, that trade was a whole bunch of nothing, right? I think it was. I mean, it's something you needed. It's probably something the Jags needed. So they get a backup defensive tackle. Maybe he'll start. I don't think the Jags are very good. I have not done the AFC South in my NFL predictions. By the way, we're doing all of our team previews as shorts. This morning was the Baltimore Ravens. That came out this morning. AFC South, NFC South is this. I mean, AFC North, NFC North is this week. This afternoon, we'll have the Chicago Bears. Wait to do that one. Have not done it yet. That'll be coming out this afternoon. We're doing all of my shorts here on the YouTube Dattitude page. If you're watching on Facebook, you got to go find us on YouTube, which means I'll show this in case you forget. Subscribe to the Dattitude YouTube page if you haven't already. Okay. Where else? Where do we go here? It skipped over. Where are we at? Big Belly wants to know, does signing Fortner mean they're sliding Simpkins back to guard? Let him replace Caesar Salad Ruiz. Torricelli Simpkins is not going to replace Cesar Ruiz. So what it means is I think Torricelli Simpkins has got he's probably going to end up on the practice squad. I think there's, I love how whenever they talk about any player on post-game shows, on other podcasts, well, you can't put him on the practice squad because then you expose him. Nobody's going to take Torricelli Simpkins, okay? Just like, other guys we're talking about who may get exposed. Well, you can't expose one of the running back. You can't expose Devin Neal. This was coming home, and I'm not making fun of WWL. This is what I heard yesterday on the way home while I was driving home. You can't expose Devin. They're going to have to keep Devin Neal on the roster because you can't. First of all, Devin Neal, there's a decent chance he goes on the PUP list, which means he would miss the first 6 games. You make a decision afterwards. But even if they don't, you really think if you cut Devin Neal and put him on the practice squad, that someone's going to pick him up? No. He was drafted in the 6th round. Nobody's going to be rushing out to take Devin Neal to put him on his roster. I promise you, he would make it to the practice squad. But I think that's what's going to happen with it. Long story going around. I think that's going to happen with Torricelli Simpkins. I think he's going to end up on the practice squad. Back to Douglas Thornton. He says he'll stay with what he's always said. Rattler is the best choice this season. He actually has the starting team without all the injuries. I'm not 100% sure what that means. Rattler has NFL service and played a full college season in the SEC. Douglas, none of that matters. He has NFL service. He and Tyler Shough have the same amount of wins in the NFL. That would be 0.0. That means nothing. He played a full college season in the SEC. That means less. I don't get it. That leads me to, what? Let's play a couple of press conferences. Preacher Man, you're next. I got a couple more. And Phyllis Soper, if you're still listening, you got to, in fact, you know what? Before I get to the comments, I want to show this. Phyllis Soper, preseason games are a waste to season ticket holders. Pay supposedly $200 tickets and can't get $50 for them. It's not just that. Here's why. It's another reason why. And again, I don't want to get off on a tangent, but Rod Walker told me this sitting next to Rod yesterday. This is what he told me yesterday. Parking in the dome. And look, I'm privileged to be able to cover this team or any team in the NFL. I don't care if the Saints have a terrible season. It's a privilege to be able to cover an NFL football team. It is. So I go into the dome with my pass, and the only thing I pay for is my gas to get there. Okay. I get a parking pass. I have to park outside of the dome, but Rod Walker told me it costs $65 to park in the Superdome. They should be ashamed of themselves. Okay. They should 100% be ashamed of themselves for charging $65 for someone to park in the Superdome. And I'm not just saying for preseason for sure. They should let everyone park for free for preseason. You're already charging people a ridiculous amount of money to go in that Superdome for free. Okay. They should, whatever, $200 for a ticket, whatever it is for preseason, stop it. In fact, stop playing preseason games at home. In my opinion, preseason games should be played all over the place. Nobody gives a. There would be more people that would probably want to go to a preseason game in like Birmingham or Jackson, Mississippi, or Tuscaloosa or Austin, Texas, or wherever. Stop charging the same amount of money for preseason as you do for the regular season, and certainly don't ever charge anyone $65 to park in the Superdome. When I heard that, it literally pissed me off. That's absurd. Well, we can get it. Well, good for you. You can get it. Doesn't mean you could. If everyone started charging $7 a gallon for gas, even though it only cost them $2, if everybody did it, well, sure, you could get it because people need gas. But there's laws against that. Apparently, there aren't laws on what you can charge for parking at the Superdome. It's incredibly, and I'm sorry I went off on a I knew it was going to, when it came up, somebody was going to remind me of that and I was going to get pissed off. It really pissed me off. It's absurd. It should not be allowed. All right, I want to get to both of these pressers from Tyler Shough and Spencer Rattler. The way they asked these questions, even the media, the way they asked these questions were different. I'll go back to I know majority of the fans. How do I know a majority of the fans are rooting for Spencer Rattler? Okay, maybe not a majority of the people watching the show today, because more than half of the people watching the show are members of the Dat Family, and I would say a majority of the Dat Family are rooting for Shough. First of all, why are you rooting for anyone? Who cares? That's a whole different story. But the questions that are being asked, I'm going to play the clip of Spencer Rattler first. And look, look at the numbers. In the grand scheme of things, he played better. He had the one horrendous pass. He stalled in the red zone. But what did Tyler Shough do in the grand scheme of things? The turf monster ate him up. He tripped on his own feet on that first drive. That certainly wasn't good. That stopped a potential drive. And then he stalled out, and the Saints had to kick a field goal as well. He did have a drop from Chris Olave, right in Chris Olave's hands that caused the drive to stall. But still, Spencer Rattler was better yesterday. Not a ton better, but for the preseason, they're what and what. But we'll hear from Spencer Rattler for just a minute and 1 second. We'll come back.
It was a fun one. Thought we could have finished a little better in the red zone. Throughout that second half, I feel like we shot ourselves in the foot. Should have had multiple scores, I thought, down there. But I thought we moved the ball well. Receivers stepped up, made big plays, starting with Tipton. Obviously, he flashed big time today. Pettis made some great plays. I thought the O-line played really well. I think last week kind of first time live, getting settled in and for a while. We got to all play cleaner. But coming into this week, we wanted to be a little more aggressive. I wanted to be a little more aggressive, play free, kind of play my style of ball within the offense. Yeah, I think just the way we finished was exciting. To get it feels like we do those situations in practice so much with the 2-minute drills, end of game. Got to have it tight moments, and to bring it to life out there on the field, especially in the dome, was fun. I thought we had 1 second left to kick the field goal and win it, but it's preseason. I get it, but it was a good, energetic finish to the game.
It was all feel-good questions. Man, what a drive. Nobody wanted to talk about anything else. Nobody asked about the things that didn't go right. Okay. And I'm not saying that you should make a huge point about it, but the questions that were asked were definitely different. Just like the play calling last week was different. Was the play calling different yesterday? I thought it was the same script. So, yes, I guess in the grand scheme of things it was. But, Tyler Shough was the one that was dinking and dunking this week, except for the 128-yard pass that he threw. And he did have, again, the drop by Olave. That was a pretty long pass. That kind of ruined a drive for sure. But in the end, Rattler played a little bit better. Preacher Man is saying he's rooting for Kellen to make the right choice. He means Rattler. Why would that necessarily be the right choice? Interesting comment here. Again, this is about a half an hour old. I'm sorry I'm way behind here. The dime took a little bit longer. Ron Hendrickson says this quarterback quest is reminding him of the time when John Forcade was trying to win the job. He was not as polished as the others, but he did have moxie, however. He was erratic as a sprayed roach. What happened when Forcade started? That didn't last very long. Jason Benson, maybe a little facetious. Best tie ever. Rattler is the next Mahomes. Prove me wrong. Half of the fan base was crushed to find out no OT in preseason. These are the people being argued with. And he also says that McCoy starting will change the O-line. Quovatis wants to know if we brought Jameis Winston back, would he be the best quarterback on the roster? Absolutely. Not even close. They won't do it, even if he gets cut, I don't think. But absolutely. Rainy Cajun says, again, if you haven't seen the fight, go do social, go get on the X machine and search for Saints Jaguars fight. Billy Henry, again, this is also about a half an hour old. I believe we will be a great team this season. Coach doesn't look like a concern. He is evaluating the team to fill roster spots. Both quarterbacks are equal. Bart Prudhomme says, fire the coach now due to not using his challenge to fix refs' bad calls, and this invisible measurement will cost the team this year. Huh? What challenge? I don't know if you're talking about that last play. You can't challenge that, by the way. That is the final 2 minutes of a game. It's refs. It's got to be the booth that reviews it. You cannot challenge anything in the final 2 minutes. I'm guessing. I didn't see anything else that I thought a challenge should have been used for. What am I missing? Silver Gators, still no wins. It's preseason. Nobody has a win. I don't know how to break this to y'all, but everybody's 0-0 right now. We put the records on the screen because we're actually just practicing for the regular season and getting our graphics ready for the regular season. Donald Latuso, the real America's team. Anytime you could come back against the team with all those backups worse than Los Santos last year, you must celebrate. Rattler is the best quarterback in the NFC South. In parentheses, I will add tongue in cheek. Corey Atkins. If Shough is the starter, then 2-15 is very much in sight. I hate to tell you this to you, Corey. I don't know how to break this to you without hurting your feelings. But if Rattler's the quarterback, 2-15 also is very possible. It's also very possible. What else we got here? Dylan Smith, good morning. Definition of what our season is going to look like. A lot of ups and downs. Second half was fun. Brian Cavett on RB234 battle. Jones needs to be on this team, Velus Jones. Not that he does the same as Taysom, but as I said, he is versatile. Clyde Edwards-Helaire blitz, pickup skill, earns him a spot. Lastly, Miller, he's healthy. He's a weapon. Man, that's a lot to spit out there. On the RB2 battle, very quickly, I think that it's over. I think Kendra Miller clearly is the RB2, barring injury. And I got to say, y'all know if you're a regular and you've been watching the show, I've been rooting for Cam Akers because I like comeback stories, but it sure looks like Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to win that RB3. And then they'll keep one more, and they're going to have a decision to make. Who's it going to be? I think you got to find a way to get Velus Jones in this team, right? I mean, I don't know. Anyway, we may get back to that if that's in the comments. But right now, as much as I try to be as neutral or just tell you we try to be based in reality here. And I'm going to tell you what I see so far. As much as I want Cam Akers to make this team because I like the story, I got to say, I'd have to pick Jones at this point. I think he can bring a lot to this team, and he can also help you on special teams. Where it's going to be tough is that last receiver spot. I mean, because Tipton's got to be on this team. And then you're talking about who's going to be the fifth receiver. Dante Pettis has probably got to be on the team because of his special teams presence. Man, they're going to have some. I know. Look, everybody's got decisions to make. Even a team that might not be that great, they've got some serious decisions to make. We're going to have fun talking about that as we go along. Marvin Ross. This is about 20 minutes ago. Shough is scared to get hit. Are you kidding me? Shough's scared to get hit. Preacher man. Here's a dime. Who do I have better pocket presence? Now, this one's not close. If you think Spencer Rattler has a better pocket presence than Tyler Shough, you ain't watching. First of all, neither one of them are great. But Spencer Rattler has 0.0 pocket presence. None. And I mean none. If you think differently, you ain't watching. Or you're not watching with reality in mind, okay? You're watching through rat-colored lenses. It's not close as far as that goes. Now, Rattler does things better than Shough does. There's no question. But pocket presence, I don't know what you're looking at if that's where you're going, because that ain't, no way. Marvin Ross says, Rattler QB1, Shough QB2, cut Jake, trade for Shedeur Sanders. First off, you got a shot, Rattler QB1. It's possible. It's not likely. It's possible. Cut Jake, that's almost certain. Or they may just put him on a practice squad. I don't know. But Shedeur Sanders, I don't know how to put this. Nobody's going to trade for Shedeur Sanders, okay? First off. Just not trading for Shedeur Sanders, okay? It's not going to be a trade. If anything, will he stay with the Cleveland Browns? Who knows? They'll probably try to get him through to the practice squad. Would somebody pick him up? I mean, that's actually a 5th round pick that somebody might pick up. I doubt it. But there's a reason why he made it to the 5th round. The Cleveland Browns are not smarter than a 5th grader. I said this earlier. I'm going to say it again. Both Tyler Shough, this isn't going out on a limb. Both Tyler Shough and Spencer Rattler will start more games for the New Orleans Saints this year. Each, not combined, each of them will start more games for the New Orleans Saints this year than Shedeur Sanders will start for the Cleveland Browns. Brian says, matters not who is the QB for the Saints, the very best to 5-win team. Leonardo Gungora says he doesn't know yet. Let's see. Where are we going? Cecil, we had one from you earlier, but we hadn't had one from you in a while. Shough looks like a 2nd round pick, and Rattler looks like a 5th round pick. Reminds him of 1989 with the way 4K Shaw, brah. That's right. Shaw alum looked coming in after A-Bear. That experiment didn't last very long. Big Billy says Rattler is willing to stay in the pocket and take a hit and also use his legs, which is an advantage. He hasn't seen that from Shough. I think that's by design. In fact, that leads me to this. I don't remember whether I kept this piece of the clip in or not, but Tyler Shough talked about that actually a little bit in his press conference and basically said as much that's not in the game plan as of right now. People forget Tyler Shough actually can run the football. 1 minute and 24 seconds. But notice, remember I told you earlier that the questions were a little bit different? There are definitely, I'm not saying everybody in the media is rooting for Spencer Rattler, but I'm telling you, I'm there. I'm with them. We've talked about it. The Fanboy podcasts are 100% rooting for Spencer Rattler to win the race. Why? Because there are plenty more Saints fans overall. I'd say if I'm just going to put a number, I'm completely making this number up, but I would be willing to bet 70% of Saints fans want Rattler to win the job. 60 at the minimum. Okay. So the Fanboy podcast, whether they really want it or they want more people to watch their shows and listen to their podcast, they are almost outwardly rooting for Spencer Rattler. They ask questions differently. They asked Tyler Shough what he thought about the competition. That's all in here. Again, 1:24. We'll come right back.
Felt really comfortable. We just kind of stalled out in a couple of those third downs and some of the drives, but it was a lot of fun. We just got to capitalize on some of those little mistakes, and we'll keep improving, keep getting better. Yeah, I feel super comfortable. I think every single day that's been, my biggest goal is to kind of build that confidence, comfortability with it. I think seeing the field, the comfortability with the offense has just grown so much with all the guys, and I've just been having so much fun. Super fired up for Spence, all the guys to kind of finish strong there, and the whole team. I think that was really big, and everybody to battle back. And I think it was good to see Olave and Sheed and all those guys out there as well, and kind of get their feet wet, hit the ground running this year. And I know we're going to keep improving.
In general, if you're trying to show this coaching staff, I know they're going to evaluate you and Spencer's performance in your own back end, that you're ready for week one, that you've had enough time to be prepared to start as a rookie. What are you trying to show them other than results?
I think for me, just the progression, the understanding, the operation. I think it was, super clean. Had a couple balls that didn't bounce our way sometimes, but as part of it, just the comfortability with the offense. I think the way I've been training, I think just doing my best to keep getting better. That's all it is, and it's new for all of us. A new offense, new system, new guys we're throwing to. So there's going to be growth moments, and I think I've done a really good job of kind of staying steady through that and continuing to get better.
Growth moments. They're going to last into the regular season. I think we're going to find out this week. Just telling you, the questions were a little bit different. Not they weren't major, but I can tell you. Read through some of the tweets, just through some of the major players in the New Orleans sports media. Just read through the tweets from yesterday. That's all I'm asking you to do. Then come back and we can talk about it on Wednesday. Big Velly says Rattler is willing to stay in the pocket and take a hit. You know why? You know why he's willing to stay in the pocket and take a hit? Because he has no pocket presence. He has none. 0.0 pocket presence. But he can also use his legs, which is an advantage. So can Tyler Shough. Gabe, can you look up and put in the chat? I'd like to know what with Tyler Shough's rushing numbers. And this is completely off the top of my head. I mean, I think he rushed for decent numbers. And maybe, if you could just tell me what they are. You haven't seen that from Shough. It's because it's by design. Reginald. Rattler should start, Shough learn. They're both learning. I tell you. They're both learning. I'm trying to catch up. Jay Tucker Rafferty. The O-line is horribly bad. They certainly have been. Rob says, if you added both quarterback stats up for both games and totaled them together, you'd barely have stats for a mediocre quarterback for one game. That's actually not true, Rob. If you added them up together, you'd have. Are you talking about from yesterday? That's not true. I'm gonna give him credit because again, you're talking about preseasons in the grand scheme of things. It doesn't matter. But if you just added up yesterday's stats and put them together, this is what you'd have. You'd have 27 of 36 for 248 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. And last week it'd be pretty similar to the same thing. So that's not actually true. Gabe has sent me this. 42 games. He rushed for 733 yards. Now, you got to remember in college also, sacks are included in rushing stats. So it's not like the NFL. I don't know how many sacks he had and how many minus yards they take away from his rushing yards. So you got to remember this when you talk about rushing numbers. So can you get me Rattler's numbers if you can too? But I'd like to compare them to Rattler's numbers. And the point is that all this stuff about Rattler using his legs and Shough not doing it, again, I'm telling you, it's by design. You can hear him. He said it. And again, not necessarily in that clip, I should have left that in that clip, but I didn't want that clip to be too long. I don't know that it really matters in the grand scheme of things. Dylan Smith, he says he likes the draft class showing out. I think this draft class could end up being a good one. Rocky says Shough will be the starter. There will be design plays for Rat. I agree. Gabe says, okay, in college here, by comparison, Rattler played 48 games in college. Wow. Okay. So he played 6 more games in college than Shough did, and he had way fewer yards. In college, Shough played 42 games, had 733. Again, this includes sacks. Okay. If you get a sack and you get a -8, it comes off your rushing stats. It's not like that in the pros. So Shough, 42 games, 733 rushing yards with 11 touchdowns in college. Spencer Rattler, 48 games. He had more attempts, 297 attempts to 246, and he had more than 300 fewer rushing yards. He had 410 rushing yards. He did score 5 more touchdowns. Just saying. I think rushing wise, I know y'all probably don't believe this, but I don't think there's much difference, honestly. As far as legs go, I don't think there's much difference between the two. We just haven't seen it from Shough. Why haven't we seen it from Shough? Again, because they don't want him to run right now. It's preseason. Why don't they want him to run, Jim Derry? Because they don't want him to get hurt. Why don't they want him to get hurt, Jim Derry? Because he's going to be the starting quarterback. Never got back to this. I'm going to say this again, especially for the new people who are not going to like this. It's the truth, though. Again, if I'm proven wrong, I'm proven wrong. I ate crow when I was wrong about you-know-who a few months ago, and if I'm wrong again, I'll tell you I'm wrong. If I'm wrong again, I will tell you I'm wrong. But those of you who thought that this was ever a race were naive. Those of you who believe did y'all listen to Kellen Moore's little presser when he said, coaches don't lie, when he said that I think all three of these guys, my ass. It's a 2-person quarterback race. It's always been. Guess what? It's not even really a 2-person quarterback race. It's never been a race. It wasn't a race in the beginning. It wasn't a race last week. It's not a race right now. The only way Spencer Rattler was ever going to be the starting quarterback. Am I crowning Tyler Shough the starter? Yes, I'm crowning him. If you want to crown him, crown him. I'm crowning him. I'm saying it here. If I'm wrong, I'll tell you I'm wrong. It makes no sense that Tyler Shough is not going to be the starting quarterback. This is not a race. A new coach who drafts a guy with the 40th pick of the draft is going to start his guy over the one that went 0-6 in the regular season last year, was drafted in the 5th round by the former coach. He would have to overwhelmingly win the job. And unless I'm missing something, he hasn't even I don't even think he's really won the job. At best, it's a tie. At best, it's a tie. Montreal, welcome. Big Sean says welcome, Big Sean. Glad you're back. He's not rooting for either one. It's a draw as far as he's concerned. Neither one has had a breakthrough while starting. Here's one. Mark this date and time down, Gabe Henderson. I completely agree with Big Sean. It's a draw. I think it's a draw. I think they're what and what. Again, like I said earlier, maybe just a smidge that Shough just kind of by eye test alone. This is based on no number. I'm telling you right now, give me numbers. I gave you the numbers. They're equal. The numbers are equal, which suggests that it's equal. One got to play against the ones last week. The other one got to play against the ones this week. One scored against reserves last week. The other one scored against reserves this week. One threw a pick 6 last week. One threw one that almost was a pick 6 this week. They were equally bad passes. Okay? It's what and what. Tie goes to the runner. The runner is, and will be for at least the immediate future, Tyler Shough. One Smoke, of course, doesn't agree with me. Rattler should be the starter. Shough not confident in the pocket. Are you what game? What? It's blowing my mind that it really is. All right. It's blowing my mind that watching these two games that anyone thinks that Spencer Rattler has any, and I mean any, confidence in the pocket. He has no pocket presence whatsoever. Although he is on the there was a long pass to Tipton, I believe. It's like a 40-yard pass that he dropped in a bucket, and it's the best pass of the preseason so far by either one of them. Rattler threw the best pass of the preseason. It's not close. It was a drop in the bucket to Tipton, I believe, on the sideline. Okay. And I went back and watched that play again, and he actually looked to the left before throwing to the right. That might be the first time I've ever seen him make a pass, and I mean ever, make a pass like that where he looked one way and threw the other. But that's where I have a problem. But pocket presence, he has none. On that play in particular, I'm not kidding. He had about 5 seconds to throw the ball. He has no pocket presence. He stands there and he waits for things to happen, and he gets drilled. He got drilled a couple times, not because he stood in there in the pocket. He got drilled because he didn't see the person coming. He doesn't see anything except he's locked on where he's going to throw the football. He can't look at more than one place at a time. That's what I have a problem with. I'm telling you, it boggles the mind that anyone thinks that at best, what we've seen so far is they're both not good with pocket presence. One has an excuse that this was only the second NFL game that he's ever played in. It's preseason, doesn't even count. First time he's ever played against a starting lineup. Darrell Hayden. I think Shough showed more poise against, by the way, I'm going in order that they are in. I'm not picking and choosing to back up a point or anything. This one just happens to back up a point. Whatever. Darrell Hayden says, I just think Shough showed more poise against the ones. I also think his ball placement hits the receiver in stride, which allows for more yak, in his opinion. I think that Rattler's great passes are as good as anyone's. Okay. The problem is, I don't think they're there. I mean, Rattler throws as pretty a deep ball as almost as anyone when he's on the mark, when he's got time. How much time is this? You all want to talk about the offensive line. Factor this in as well. With this offensive line and no pocket presence, what does that mean for a Spencer Rattler? Go back and watch. And if you recorded it, go back and watch. If not, you could find plays. But the plays that Spencer Rattler played well before that last drive, he just let himself free, and I thought he was great. And that's I wish he would do that all the time. But on the previous drives when he made these really nice passes, look at how much time he had. But that's a second or third string offensive line playing against the third or fourth string Jacksonville defensive front. Not going to have that time with ones against the ones. You're just not. Let's see. Big Velly says it doesn't seem hard to pick wide receivers. Olave, Shaheed, Tipton, Cooks, Wilson, and Pettis. Are they going to keep that many? Don't know the answer to that right now. Jason Benson with McCoy playing Kamara in the backfield, real strategy with play calling. This offense should be better come regular season. Yeah, I mean, they're being vanilla. They're not showing anything at all. Jason Benson, Jason also asked, am I concerned about kickoff coverage? Not really. I'm concerned that they should never kick it in the end zone. I'm just going to say, with the rules the way they are now, they should never, ever kick it in the end zone. Oh, boy. See, I knew it was too good to be true that we agreed on something. Now we're going to disagree. The real reason Shedeur made it to the fifth round is the league did it to spite him and Dion. Stop hallucinating. You're wrong. Shedeur Sanders is not that good. I'm sorry. He's a walking sack machine. If you don't like my opinion, sorry. But How many games do you think Shedeur Sanders is going to start, not only this year, but in his NFL career? It ain't going to be many. Again, if I'm wrong, you can come back and roast me for it, and I'll show your comment. Just saying. Jules Howard wants to know my thoughts about this atrocious offensive line play. I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. It's a major concern. It might be the number one concern. In fact, I would go as far to say as much as quarterback is concerned, because look, let's be realistic. We can get into this in a second. And I still got to get Gabe on. We're at 1:05 and we got like 25 minutes left in the show. We were going down. Gabe and I were talking about this, and I talked about this with Zach yesterday, who doesn't agree with me. But take Tyler Shough's best and Spencer Rattler's best and put it in one body. Where would they rank among not starting quarterbacks? Where would they rank among backup quarterbacks? I would take Trey Lance in a heartbeat. And I mean a heartbeat. The answer would be yes before they finished saying it. Would you, if Trey Lance gets cut tomorrow, which he probably won't get cut, but would you take Trey Lance right now over either one of these guys? I would say yes before you finished asking me the question. Yes. Did you watch Nick Mullins yesterday? He was better than either one of these two quarterbacks. That's saying something. So that's where I think the QB1 situation is right now for this team. It doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, because I personally think this team is going to be in the same boat next year and is going to have to draft a quarterback with a top 5 pick. That's just my opinion. I hope I'm wrong. I hope one of them balls out and whatever. And the Saints are way better than 4-13 or 5-12 or whatever they're going to be. They're way better than that. And Derry, you're wrong. Great. Trey Lance is not better. All of that being said, it's a bigger problem than QB1, and I can't believe I'm saying this because I really thought it was going to be a strength of this team, and maybe still could be. But the O-line suddenly doesn't have depth, and they are a major concern. Big Sean wants to know, the question is, when am I ever right? I'm almost always right. Sorry. Besides Derek Carr, when have I been wrong? And that was only wrong at the very end about Derek Carr. Derek Carr is like 10 times better than either one of these dudes that might play quarterback for the Saints this year. So the answer is, I'm not wrong often. Just saying. Oscar doesn't think I'm wrong right now. He says on the money, Spencer has no pocket presence. The haters think I'm wrong. But they don't come with receipts. They just like spout off. You're wrong. You're always wrong. That's my favorite. Oh, when they say things that are way more worse than that. You're always wrong, Derry. Oh, you're right, Gabe. You have another one. This one is from 2 years ago. I was wrong, definitely wrong. Thumbs up. I was wrong at least twice. I was wrong about CJ Stroud. Anthony Eason. Shuck's throw to the tight end was not a throw you make if you lack confidence. That's true. I didn't think, honestly, Anthony, I wasn't real fond of that throw, even though he made it. But you're right. I don't think Shuck lacks confidence at all. Okay. Saying. Ryan Chano says, hello, Ryan, by the way. I can already see it coming. Fans are going to treat Shuck like they did Carr. Can anybody? I don't know. I don't think they're going to treat him nicely if he stinks. But could anybody be treated worse than Derek Carr was treated? Calvin 14 says he might be wrong, but Shuck seems like he goes through his progressions better. Yeah, I definitely think that's the case. One Smoke, who's rooting for Rattler, says that throw to the tight end was a clean pocket. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Of course. What else we got? Daryl says, talking about Shuck, he got smoked. He threw the best pass of any quarterback for the day. I know. I'm sorry. The best pass of the day was definitely Spencer Rattler's pass to Tipton on the sideline. That was 100% the best pass of the day. I don't really think it was that close, to be honest. Comparing trash to garbage. That's not true. Sean says, and I didn't know this. I don't know if he's behind. He's just typing this in because I've almost caught up now. I'm only like 3 minutes behind. Sean says Jerry World charges $75 for parking. That should be illegal. You're trying to get my dander up? That absolutely should be illegal. Charging $75 for parking, unless like you're going on a cruise and you're leaving your car somewhere for a week, then I'm okay with $75. Or if you're going to the airport, I paid less than $75. I'm not joking. I have spent less money, and I haven't been to the airport in a couple years. The last time I even flew was when I went to Vegas for the draft. What was that, 3 years ago? 2 years, whatever it was. 3 years ago. That's the last time I flew. But parking then was like, I think for 4 days in parking, long-term parking, I think it was like $72. That's ridiculous. Get me fired up. Big Sean says, again, with no receipts. They come back with no receipts. They just spout out shit. They just spout shit. It just comes out of their mouth. In this case, out of their finger. They just say it. No receipts. Every time you open your mouth, you're wrong. You know what, Big Sean? You're wrong. I'm right about probably about 93, 94% of the time, unless I'm making my picks. If I'm making picks, I'm probably right, I don't know, 54% of the time, 55% of the time. Sean says the rat pick was more on the receiver. Oh, boy, here we go. Of course it was. It was the receiver's fault. That was a horrendous decision to make that pass. Corey, I don't think it's going to make it that far. Whoever starts this week will be QB2. Going to start your quarterback one last game of the preseason. Not going to start your quarterback. I think it's going to be announced before then. We'll see. It'll be announced. And lastly, before we get to Gabe, before we get to my friends at Evangeline and then Gabe, Rainy Cajun says Carr was treated the way he was because of what he did on the field. What he did on the field is way better than what either one of these dudes is going to do on the field. That said, the Who Dat Nation has been spoiled with Drew, no question. And unfortunately, there was no way he could live up to those standards. No one can. No one can live up to that. No one is ever going to live up. I'm sorry. I haven't said it in a while, so I'll say it again. Drew Brees is gone. And what, Gabe? He's never coming back. This isn't. You know who is coming back? Evangeline Securities is back. They can help you figure out what your family run or probably held business might be worth and whether it's time to sell. How do they do it? Well, thank you for asking. There's no question here. There's no Rattler versus Shough. There's no Miller versus Akers or Edwards-Helaire. No. They give you a complimentary valuation of your company. And then if you decide to proceed, native New Orleanians, Nick Braden, Ron Hemelt, and the folks at Evangeline, who are way better than my 92% correctness, they are right 100% of the time. They are always, unlike me, which is wrong like once a year, they are always right. And they will begin with an extensive auction process from among established private equity funds from around the world. And they'll maximize the return for the founder and his or her family. Evangeline Securities is the top producer on their platform. There are very few companies like them in this area, and none, go ahead, try to find one, none with that dedication and success. They are fully licensed. They are ready to serve you. So get in touch with Nick and Ron about what's really important. Charles Mangus, what's really important? You got it. The rest of your life. I'm not crying. I'm just excited. Big Sean's back, and he's criticizing me again, and that means it's football season, and all's right with the world. Get in touch with my friends at www.evangelinesecurities.com. Chad wants to know if they're adding a new excuse for the rat, the offensive line. Denise Wide receiver injuries, Loomis. Now just flat out the wide receiver. Yeah, it is. Big Sean crowns me the king. That sounds like a song. You are the king of self-contradiction. Something like that. Jason Benson, any updates on Taysom? Yeah, he's still hurt. But in the grand scheme of things, I think we'll find out, all kidding aside, or not kidding because it's not a serious matter. Taysom Hill, will find out about him very shortly because they're going to have to put him on the active roster or put him on the PUP list. I think he's going to end up on the PUP list. That's my guess. Tom Price says, again, Jimmy Burgundy, I'm clicking on these without reading them first. If Derek Carr was still here, he would be the starter, but then Derek Carr would still be here. And then we'd be talking about something completely different. Lastly, before we get to Gabe, Joshua Marks wants to know who would pay full price for basically a practice. If you have season tickets, you don't have a choice. All right. You know what time it is. It is that time of the show. Again, we're going to wrap up with, we got plenty more. You go ahead. Keep sending them. Keep sending them. Y'all still waiting for a receipt. You keep telling me how wrong, but you still haven't told me what I'm wrong about. I love it. Gabe found out what Gabe came up with something I was wrong about, CJ Stroud. He had to go back 2 years into the vault, but yeah, I was wrong about CJ Stroud.
I could probably pull something from more recently,
I'm
but
sure you can find something. But yeah,
decided to be nice.
You can't use picks, by the way, because I already said I'm like 54% on picks, which is actually.
Oh, you know what? I can give you one more recently. You said it yourself on a short, the Broncos win total, but I guess that is a pick. But with how wrong you were, I think that's something we can consider.
Waiting for receipts. No receipts. All right, what you got for me this morning, Gabe Anderson?
Let's answer Earl's Picks question real quick.
Okay, he wants to know, why would I take Trey Lance over Shough? You don't know what Shough can be. You know what Lance is. Yeah, I think Lance is a decent quarterback
than Tyler Shough.
I think he's better than Tyler Shough. So the answer is, if I had a choice, what I would do is I would cut Jay Kaner and take Trey Lance, make Shough the backup, or I would make Shough the backup because you can't expose him in the practice squad. I know that y'all don't believe this, but you could expose Spencer Rattler practice squad. Nobody's picking up Spencer Rattler. He would make it to the practice squad. So if that were, again, this is not only a hypothetical, it would never happen. Okay. But if Trey Lance were available and I were in charge of this football team, I would pick up Trey Lance. I would make him my starter. I would make Shough the backup. I would put Spencer Rattler on the practice squad. Again, you could expose him. He wouldn't go anywhere. And then I would cut Jay Kaner. Anyway, Rocky says he would take Trey Lance right now.
I would harm myself in ways that I cannot say on this show if that was my option.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I have noticed though? You know, the shouts of Joe Milton have completely evaporated.
By the way, breaking news this morning. Breaking news from the NFL. I know there will be many who are shocked by this, but the Browns have announced who will start week 1. It is not Shedeur Sanders. It is not Dylan Gabriel. It is Joe Flacco.
Yep.
Another thing Derry was right about. Oh my God. Sorry.
I know you can't see it back here, but all around my room there's writing that was on the wall. Yeah,
Derry's always wrong. I'm always wrong.
Joe Flacco was always starting for the Browns.
Of course he was.
But I will say I do want to take you up on what you said earlier. You said both Rattler and Shough will start more games individually for the Saints than Shedeur will. I do not think Rattler starts more games than Shedeur.
I think Rattler's going to start like 4 games.
That's fine. I think you are going to get to a point in Cleveland where there is no point in starting a 40-year-old at quarterback. And
then Dylan Gabriel's going to start.
No, he's not. Did you see Dylan Gabriel play this weekend?
I'm just telling you.
Did you see the pick 6 he threw, Jim?
I don't think either one of them
It was very bad.
The Browns or the Browns?
And here's the thing. I
Browns
think if the Browns are putting a rookie quarterback on the practice squad, I think it's 100% without a doubt Dylan Gabriel.
they're going to cut Shedeur Sanders?
No, I think he's going to make the active roster.
We'll see. I think it's possible.
Because, I mean, there's all this talk of exposing quarterbacks. Teams are more likely to pick up Shedeur than they are Dylan Gabriel.
Okay. Actually, nobody's
Shedeur is
picking
a
up
better
Dylan Gabriel.
quarterback.
No one's picking up
Shedeur is
Dylan
a better
Gabriel.
quarterback.
Shedeur Sanders might get picked up on name alone. So,
yes,
it's possible.
And he's played well in the preseason. And as we've seen,
played
that
one
counts
game.
for something.
He played one part of one game.
All I'm saying is that counts for something. Look at Jim Trey Lance is still starting preseason games. You're talking about picking up Trey Lance. He's never done anything in a meaningful football game.
He's done more than
you're basing it off preseason.
These dudes that have
you're basing it off preseason.
No, I'm not. I'm basing it off of. I would rather see the Trey Lance I saw in that game he started in the rain against Chicago than either one of these two quarterbacks right now.
I don't disagree with you there.
So I'm not basing it off of just preseason. I'm not saying Trey.
We've never really seen much of him.
You're misinterpreting what I'm saying. Sure. You're misinterpreting, and so are probably fans, by the way. People are misinterpreting that I'm saying that Trey Lance is good. I'm not saying
no. I don't think you're saying that. Okay. I know you don't believe that.
I don't naturally think Trey Lance is good. I think he's better than either one of these dudes. Sean wants to know: will this season quarterback play be worse than the Steve Walsh and Danny Werfel era? Well, they weren't in the same era.
Here's the thing. I will give you an answer. Danny Werfel did something in college, so yes, this will be worse. That's the difference between Danny Werfel and these two knuckleheads.
Both bad. That's tough.
They were both bad in college as well.
That's both bad. Chad says he loves Jim versus Gabe and makes his day. I mean, we're just being who we are.
Charles got to my news before I could share it.
Is that true? Coach O's thinking about coaching again?
He said on an appearance on Pardon My Take that he's considering. He said he's, quote, getting the itch again.
All right, I got to work on getting Coach O in the show. I actually have a personal relationship with Coach O. I got to work on getting him on the show.
I could 100% see it. I don't know where he would go. I don't think would he get a head coaching job right away, do you think? Or you think he'd
college? I mean, if he wanted to go like I hate to say
school.
this, like Southeastern or. Let's put it this way. Let's say if Mississippi State, which is probably they're gonna be terrible. I was asking Ron, Mississippi State, if they go winless in the SEC again, do you think they would hire a coach out?
They're not going to fire their coach. Their coach is a first-year coach.
I thought he was a second-year coach. Wasn't he there last year? Yeah,
no, they just hired the OC from Oklahoma.
Okay, that's right. You're right.
Yeah, no, Moorhead is elsewhere now. I believe he's at Coastal Carolina.
That's right. You're right. No, you're 100% right. So let's just say, all right. So that's not gonna. But I'm completely hypothetical. If Mississippi State went over,
no, Mississippi State would not hire him.
I don't think so either.
But I could see him. Put it this way: Trent Dilfer still has a job at UAB. Coach O could definitely get a Group of 5 job.
Oh, for sure.
100% without question. If he wants to coach again, he could get a Group of 5 job.
If let's just say John Summerall moved on at Tulane. Now Tulane is probably would follow the mold and go get a young coach again. That whoever the young and up and coach that wanted to use that as a step. But I could see that.
Maybe. I could see that too.
So maybe we'll see. All right, what else you got from this morning? I am trying. Look, let's. I think the whole QB1. Let's cool our jets. I mean, again, you haven't watched any preseason, but just in the grand scheme of things,
actually, that's not true. Let me talk about it for a second. I went out to eat on Friday night, and it was Giants.
You accidentally watched them,
or was it Friday or Saturday? I don't remember. One of those 2 days, and Giants Jets. It was Saturday. Giants.
You
Jets
accidentally watched them,
and I watched Jackson Dart play.
Okay.
And
how did he look?
He looked pretty good in the preseason game. He really did. Like I said,
that's who would have been the starter for this team.
100%.
There wouldn't even there wouldn't even been talk of a QB1 race had the Saints done what they really wanted to do and didn't have a clue that the Giants were going to snipe them right there.
I'd be contradicting myself if I suddenly said that I think Jackson Dart is going to be a good quarterback because
I don't think he's in
preseason. But for what it's worth, he played well in preseason and he looked comfortable.
Anthony's getting mad because some people aren't giving Shough a chance. All right, look, seriously, forget about who's going to be QB1. I'm going to ask you this.
Okay.
As an outsider, Do you? Because I don't understand it. Maybe you'll see something that I don't see. Because I really don't get it. I don't get it at all. I don't understand the absolute adoration and love of Spencer, because it started from day one. And I just thought it in the beginning is because people hated Derek Carr that much that they were like, that they had got smitten with Spencer Rattler. Do you see from the outside anything that would show why there's like this love affair with Spencer Rattler? He's never, and I don't care if he wins this QB1, he's never. How do you know? Because you can look and see. How does he? You just know. If you watch football, you know. No one realistically thinks Spencer Rattler is ever going to be a real starting quarterback in this league. So why would people just get smitten with him and fall in love with Spencer Rattler and want him to win this job? Why?
I think we've talked. Here's the thing. I don't think it's only Spencer. Spencer Rattler is a very polarizing player, but I think it's not just him. We're just using him as an example because I think there's people who are out there who are hyping up Shough in the same way.
Yeah, but not like this. Yeah, you're right about that, but not quite like this.
The seeds are being planted. The difference is Rattler has been here longer. But trust me, as an outsider, it's the same amount of stuff for both sides. The reason that
I mean, you're on the outside. Maybe you're right. I don't see that.
There's a reason that the name Shuckhold is already going around for people who are standing this guy. The reason that people really like Rattler is because, as we've talked about before, he was really highly rated coming out of high school. He played well at Oklahoma his first year. And it's the idea that some experts at some point in time thought that he was an excellent quarterback. And Saints fans, and I don't mean that this is going to sound demeaning, and I really hope it doesn't come out that way. Saints fans are desperate for a savior at this point.
Yeah.
The last few years have been miserable.
That's true.
From a fan perspective. And they are just clinging on to any hope that the next guy is the guy.
Because PBM says because Rattler is short like Breeze. Actually, Spencer Rattler is taller. He's 6'1", and Breeze, who listed Spencer Rattler is actually 6'1". I've talked to Spencer Rattler in person multiple times. But Breeze, who I've also talked to multiple times in person, who listed himself as 6 feet, or the Saints did, was not 6 feet. He was like 5'11" and a half on a good day. He never made it to 6 feet. But anyway, I don't know. I hear what you're saying. I never understood. Maybe you're right that the hype on Shough, and I just not seeing that the same. I see it sometimes on this show because I just feel like people who on the Shough side watch this show more just naturally because I've said from the beginning that I thought Shough was going to be the starter because of where he was drafted, who he was drafted by, and who Rattler was drafted by, and where he was drafted. So I just think that's the main reason. But I just have not seen the same adoration and whatever as for Tyler Shough. Again, who I'm gonna say the same thing about Tyler Shough. And again, I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think Tyler Shough is going to be a long-term starter in the NFL either. But one thing about Tyler Shough is I just haven't seen enough of a sample size to completely know that. So
let me say this. There are a lot of people, everyone has their opinion. They lean both ways.
Yeah.
Every single person who acts like there's much of a difference between the two is lying to themselves.
Yeah. That's true.
They're both, as of right now, with neither having proven anything in the NFL, they're both bad quarterbacks.
Yeah. I mean,
and if we're being honest, I will go. This is my prediction. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I do not think either of them will be very good.
That's kind of mean, Gabe Henderson. They're both bad quarterbacks.
They're both bad quarterbacks.
We
ran through it last episode. We ran through the list of backup. Jim, you can't say that that's mean when you've said that you would take a majority of backup quarterbacks over them. You said earlier
I'm throwing you under the bus.
You said you would take.
I didn't say I would take Nick Mullins. I said I said Nick Mullins was better yesterday than either Shough or Rattler has probably ever.
Say it was implied.
I don't think I would take Nick Mullins because I would at least rather see youth. Nick Mullins is
that's fair.
He's got like a 5
I don't disagree.
record as
And
a
that's
starter.
why I think Tyler Shough is eventually going to start. I'm on the record saying I believe Rattler will start, but I don't think it's because he's better or anything. I think it's because those first 4 games are so tough that I could see them giving him a little bit of time to take the pressure away from Shough. But who knows? They could go with Shough from the jump.
Yeah.
The thing that I hope for both of those guys is that Kellen Moore, being a first-year head coach, doesn't hope that his ass is on the line this year and he kind of flip-flops quarterbacks all season, because we've seen that way too many
he's
times.
not on the line. Yeah, he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, no, we've seen that way too many times where quarterbacks are just chopped and changed throughout the season, and it just doesn't end well for either player.
Yeah. All right, we're at 1:31. I got to say bye-bye. So anyway, we'll talk again on Wednesday when I have no idea who our guest will be, but I will see you on Wednesday, my friend.
Sounds good.
Bringing spice to the show. I'm telling you, we haven't got spice. We need a good spicy. Terrence, where you been, Terrence? I haven't seen you in a little while. And I'm not exactly sure what you're saying true about, but I'm glad you're here. I haven't seen you in a while. Thank you. Rocky says, and don't forget guaranteed money. Shough has guaranteed money. Spencer Rattler does not. The guaranteed money is almost minuscule when it comes to that, though. I mean, look, in the grand scheme of things, one way or the other, 100%. Whether I stick with 80%, Shough is going to start game 1, 20% Rattler. So I definitely don't think it's not 0.0. It's not even close. However, I think that barring injury, I think there is a 0.0% chance that no matter, even if Rattler were to start and even if he were to play well, I think it's almost 0.0 that we don't see Tyler Shough for a significant amount of time as a starter, because, again, they have to know where they are going forward. Oh, that's what he meant. He meant neither quarterback is good. Yeah, that's definitely true. Just saying, neither quarterback, they have to know if Tyler Shough can even potentially be a starter. He's going to start plenty of games on this team this season. Just saying. And I think that is about, look, there's some of these comments, guys. Come on. You know I'm not going there. And nor should anyone else. So anyway. I think we're going to move on because it's an hour and 33 minutes in. It is time to go bye-bye. I'm trying to limit myself to an hour and 30, even though sometimes on Mano E Monday, it's hard because I want to get to all of you. I want to get to every comment. And it used to be easy to get to every comment because, well, let's say last year at this time, we just didn't have that many people watching the show. And it was easy to get to every comment. Now it's impossible to get to every comment. It just is. You know what? One more comment. Where is it? I want to go back here because it was spot on. UBN says he's an outsider. He's a 49ers fan. He still has no idea why people love Spencer Rattler so much. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, he wasn't that good in college. I mean, really wasn't. Let's be realistic. Go look at it. If you think I'm just making this up, and did you even really know Spencer? You knew the name Spencer Rattler because he was on the QB1 on Netflix. And his name was thrown around a lot when he was playing in college. But look at his numbers. Was he ever really? What did he do in college that made anyone think he was that good? I don't get it. I still don't. I especially don't. I kind of, maybe sort of, kind of a little bit get it with the media love. Because the fan love. Because again, I think it started with he wasn't Derek Carr and that made them love Rattler, and it just kind of kept going. You like, maybe you pick a second team when you're a kid. You don't really know the answer. You just pick a second team that's not the Saints, and you've always liked that team. Okay, it is what it is. So maybe that's what. But the media, I don't get the media at all. Just don't. You know what I do get? I get that it's time to wrap up the show. And it is going to wrap it up for us here on this Mano E Monday. We do it every Monday after a game. We won't do it on Labor Day because I'm taking that day off, but that's a couple weeks from now. It's also my fantasy draft. Looking forward to that, baby. I want to thank today's guest. You were our guest. You're not only our guest, but you're our family. You know that already. Gabe Henderson. It's not just our guest. He's part of the family as well. We hope you can join us next on Wednesday when we will welcome in. I have no idea who we're going to welcome in. Well, we will have a guest on Wednesday. I just don't know who it is. A reminder, if you haven't done so already, to subscribe to our Dattitude YouTube page. Click the little bell to receive notifications when we go on the air live, which is every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11 a.m. Central Time. You can also find us wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple, Spotify, many more, and find a replay of the show on NOLA.com/sports. You can find me on bet.NOLA.com. You can find our Saints insiders on NOLA.com/Saints. You can find Gabe Henderson on sportsbookreview.com. I hope everyone has a great early part of their week. Stay out of the heat. Stay cool like you always do. And we will see you on Wednesday. Take it easy, my friends.